Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 525 for July 20th, 2022. Hey, hello everybody. I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks for clicking on the Ham Radio Crash Course again for another week of Ham Radio fun. We've got a big show with a lot of guests and a lot of possibly hot microphones I'm hearing right now in my ears. But let's go to the main group and say hi to the hosts. How's it going, everybody? Gordo starting us off at the top. How are you doing, Gordo? How's your week been?
It's been great, and surf was 6 to 8 feet. Picking these out of my hair today.
Ooh.
Wow. Were you out there in the water catching some tubes?
Absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Very good. And Don, how are you doing this week?
I'm great. Celebrating 53 years since the moon landing. Today, 53 years ago, Apollo 11 touchdown with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walking around out there. So I'm very excited about that. I got to watch it live because I am of that age, and it was something to behold. We got a great show tonight. The kids are taking over. We're going to talk all about youth and amateur radio. We're going to introduce you to the 2022 Young Ham of the Year and tell you how you can meet her in a month. And it's just going to be a great show. We got Solar with Dr. T as well. So, yeah, let's kick this thing off.
Right on. And Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, other than melting like most of the United States is still. But we've got a really, as Don said, youth is taking over tonight. Yeah. We've got a room full of them. We're also going to have the youth on the air camp, some of the survivors of that, and they're going to tell us what they learned, what was fun, what wasn't, and we're going to show off a lot of pictures, and hopefully we can get a lot more interest next year. And we have to say thanks to ARDC for making it possible for YOTA in Cincinnati 2022 to take place, because they really helped out a lot. So with that, stick around. I'm going to be watching chat. So is Josh.
Yes.
And we're going to be grabbing some great questions for all of our youth today. And hopefully everyone also is going to make it to Huntsville Hamfest. I can talk. And I will not be there. But anyhow, stay tuned. A lot to come tonight. Gordo.
Drop your questions. Make sure you just send them fast and furious. We'll see them, so don't worry about it.
Yep.
Gordo, it's all you.
All right. Well, thanks so much. And let's jump right into some batteries. Here we go. That's Kevin with BioInno, and we're going to talk about lithium iron phosphate. And this is an exciting technology that I went to their factory where they put these things together, and we learned a lot about lithium iron phosphate batteries. Now, these batteries are inherently safer because the oxygen is bonded tightly with the phosphorus bonds versus traditional lithium ion, and much safer than the spillable lead acid. And best of all, they're the most expensive. Best of all, they are about 1/3 the weight of a companion sealed lead acid battery. Well, when we look at the whiteboard, we can see that there's a lot that goes into a BioInno battery. And a lot of folks are talking about it because hams love them because they have a higher voltage, about 13.4 volts resting, and they don't dip down until about 12.9 until they're about 95% exhausted. So a very, very stable output. The cells are each 3.3 volts DC resting, and they charge up to about 3.45 volts under the charging. And by the way, yes, the chargers come with the battery packs on some of the units. And you can get the battery packs from 13 volts to 12 to 24, 36, 48, 3.6 volts, 9 volts. Whatever you're looking for, more than likely they've got them. The key to the proper charging and discharging and the safety of the lithium iron phosphate batteries is the PCM, and this goes into every battery pack. It's the little bulge that we're going to see in just a few moments. And the PCM makes sure that you don't accidentally short them out. However, the 20 amp pack can handle a brief load of 60 amps. The 50 amp pack, 50 amp hours, can take a quick surge at 80 amps, but they don't make cold cranking amps for like starting a vehicle. Nope. You'll see that the PCM is on this big battery bank here. This one is, I believe, a 24-volt battery, and it allows for each of the cells to balance out, and that way one particular group of cells don't get overcharged. And this is the tester that they use on some of the larger packs, and occasionally they'll just double check that everything is okay on the smaller packs by putting it on the tester. Now, you think about AGM batteries, those are heavy. That's about a 40-pound battery there, but they've got a Bioenno that's just a fraction of that at about 15 to 18 pounds that will do just about the same thing. But the Bioenno packs are for running ham gear, running lawnmowers, things like that, not cold cranking amps to try and start your mobile unit. Yeah, they've got 100 ampere, and they actually have 150 amp hour. And again, they can take a slight surge, but it's not intended, unless they make one special for you, for jump starting a car battery that's absolutely dead. Well, we jump started the 100 amp hour out at Quartzfest for the last 3 years. Same battery. It can be charged on its own dedicated charger or other charging methods. And that's Ray with ICOM America. And he ran that for the entire 5 days, 7-day show, but ran it for 5 days before we really needed to put some more suds back in the battery. We did a lot of testing before I would say these are the best batteries around. And we found that the quality that they put together on putting these together was just the best. And look at that voltmeter resting at 13.2 volts. And this is important because if you're running the digital modes, it's not going to slightly change frequency when you go to transmit due to low voltage. They just stick right around 13 volts, even under a load. And the Chip Margelli K7JA loves the Bioenno batteries because they're 1/3 the weight of an AGM battery and much smaller. And he can take them to the beach. And while he's operating HF on the beam antenna over his right shoulder that you see the mast, we could also play with the loop antenna, also running off the same battery. At the end of the day, the battery got down to a whopping 12.9 volts. Oh my gosh, we pulled so much current out of it that we set up a little solar panel, and believe me, the ICOM America radios were just right on cooking with that voltage. And this is what you typically see, even with the radios turned on, that it's not going to drop down to 12.4 that most wet batteries will, but it's going to hover around 13. And the battery you're looking at there is the very popular 12-volt, 12 amp hour battery. And that'll run a 100-watt radio for about 4 or 5 hours. It'll easily run a QRP radio all day and certainly all night. The batteries are protected against overcurrent charging, and there's one of the Gordo solar panels, and they've got a battery inside the grab-and-go case that you see there. And we did a little bit of testing to see how some of the solar panels that they were coming up with that Bioenno were doing out at Quartzfest. And let me tell you, those panels really did well. Until a bird came by and left a little sample. Some solar panels are very, very efficient. However, if you cover up just one of the panel elements with any bird do, it's going to knock down what's happening capability with the solar panels. Well, Kevin, KI6DHQ with Bioenno says, well, I'm going to go to another type of panel that's much more forgiving if there's a shadow on one or two of the panels, and it's the new flexible panel with an MPPT solar controller that you see in the background. For me, I still have the regular old 12-volt, 12 amp hour battery, and what I do is I build it into the case. The battery doesn't care. Bioenno, you can upside down, sideways. It'll go almost any way. I've got it into the iPortable pack, and slide in the radios, and we're ready to go on the air. And again, the BioWinnow batteries come in many configurations for wheelchairs or scooters or whatever, not just necessarily for ham radios like you see there. And inside, I believe I have the 20 amp, and I haven't yet brought it down to the point where we went off the air. And when I first started testing them, I tested them with both a voltmeter and an amp meter that you see off to the left, and was absolutely surprised that it was such a good performer after running most of the day. It just sort of held at 13.3. Now, one important thing to remember if you're solar charging the battery, especially when I'm out at sea, is if the solar panel is open to the sunlight and you add the panel through maybe an Anderson connector, the battery may sense that, hey, here comes 18 volts. I'm out of here, and the PCM clicks out. And you go, what's going on? What's happening? No problem. That's what the PCM, the protection circuit module, is supposed to do, and that is to trip out if it detects a much higher than usual voltage or current. The panel naturally has a very high voltage because most panels put out about 18 or 19 volts to the direct sunlight. So what I do is I keep the panel shaded, I make the connection, and then I unshade the panel, and the panel does its thing, and we'll go ahead and charge things up. So when I used to use big, heavy batteries like this just to run some of my microwave gear, I thought, this is nuts. I don't need all this kind of stuff. I can do almost the same thing with a real favorite, and that's the 20 amp BioWinnow battery system. Now, the BioWinnow battery system is, let's see, it's a LiFePO4. That's the way they abbreviate it. And that PCM protection circuit module is in every one of their batteries, so you can't accidentally short it out or toast it with overcurrent. I always like to keep a good eye on what's happening, and I use an analog voltmeter. And on sideband, it'll hover about 13.2 in between syllables, maybe drop down to 13.1, but that's the kind of meter I like to go. Well, I asked Kevin, I said, you know, there's a lot of different applications for powered telescopes and for small little saws and all sorts of gizmos. And he says, hey, I'll make whatever anybody wants as long as it's a quantity order. So if you got something special at a special voltage, I needed one for 48 volts to run a small amplifier, and no problem at all. They make those almost off the shelf. And they make some very exotic stuff, such as power supplies here that are pure sine wave, all at BioWinnow power. And the neat thing about BioWinnow is you can talk directly to Kevin. And here's an 800 number that you would call to get to Kevin. It's figures 888, that's 38, 336 7864. Say again, 888-336-7864. But I like to look at all of their different batteries at sale, S-A-L-E, singular, at BioWinnowPower.com, and look at all the neat technology that they have. And they consider these deep cycle lithium iron phosphate batteries because they provide a much larger number of cells to achieve the capacity required to run ham radio equipment and other electronics. They're not necessarily designed to jumpstart a automobile battery, but nonetheless, they'll sure run the equipment great. And to show you, this is 12 amps, and you see it's very light, only weighs about 3.5 pounds. Here is 20 amps, and that one runs about 7 pounds. And here's 100 amps. And you'd never be able to do this with a gel battery, but they're 100 amp. Yeah, it is a little heavy, but nonetheless, it'll keep any rig rolling and rolling. And the rigs I like are, of course, ICOM America, because no matter what, they just keep right on rolling through Maritime Mobile or out at Quartz Fest. So let's take a look and see what's new with a BioWinnow battery, probably running some of this ICOM America equipment.
Be a field day leader. Field Day is ham radio's most popular event. On June 26th and 27th, more than 40,000 North American hams come together to operate remotely. Connect with nature. Connect with friends. With a powerful and high-quality ICOM radio, easily cut through pileups to get that contesting edge. Our popular IC705 portable, IC7300, and IC7610 SDR transceivers are the clear choice for DXers and contesters across the globe. The IC705 is the perfect transceiver for hams who enjoy both the great indoors and outdoors on Field Day. Features and functionalities at the tips of your fingers in a portable package covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. And it weighs in at just under 2 pounds. 4.3-inch color touchscreen with live band scope and waterfall. 5 watts with BP272, 10 watts with external 13.8 volt DC. Single sideband CW, AM, FM, as well as full D-Star functions. The IC7300 is a high-performance innovative HF transceiver with a compact design that will far exceed your expectations. This is a radio that changed the way entry-level HF is designed. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. The real HF fun starts here. The IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR has the ability to pick out faint signals in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The ICOM IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that has changed the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. For more information on these and all the great ICOM radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur.
And we very much appreciate ICOM for sponsoring Ham Nation here on the Ham Radio Crash Course. And you know what they do that's special every time we go live is they do a bit of a giveaway. At the end of every month, they pick a winner for a monthly giveaway of a radio. This month was a 2730A, and the winner of that radio is Tim S. AG5ZU. And along with that, they pick 3 swag winners, and it's basically a swag pack of different ICOM gear. If you win a swag pack, you are automatically entered into the end of the month radio drawings. This week's winners are Jack N, W0KI, Daniel M, N4LOM, Kevin G, KI5KZB. Now, to enter, the link is in the description. You go to icomamerica.com/hamnation, and you click that black Enter Now button, and that's how you enter. Very straightforward and very easy, and you can do it every time we go live here on Ham Nation. Now, I have a bit of a special message, and I know we've got a lot of people here we got to get to, but Steve, K5ATA, over at the ARRL, wanted me to remind everybody, and since we have a lot of youth operators here today, wanted to remind all the teachers that the ARRL Teacher Institute on Wireless Technology is holding another event in the October time period, October 24th through 28. The link will be in the description. It's basically free training for teachers. I think there's like a nominal fee that the teacher has to provide up front, but I think it's under $100. But anyway, there's still an opening for it. It is a huge value for educators. If you'd like to know more about that, you can actually look at a couple of videos I've done with K5ATA, and he's been on Ham Nation before to talk about that, so you can check that out. All right, we're moving on. Thanks so much for indulging me on that, and go check out the ARRL Teachers Institute on Wireless Technology. We're going to Don. Don, how you doing?
I am great. We've got such a full show. Let's go ahead and get into the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline, and we'll see what Dr. T's got going on, and then we will talk to the 2022 Newsline Young Ham of the Year. So let's go ahead and see what's going on with Newsline.
All right.
From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2333, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, July 20th, 2022. We begin this week with one of the most groundbreaking radio transmissions ever to reach the Earth from space.
July 11th was a huge day for fans of space, astronomy, and science in general as NASA revealed the first images from the James Webb Space Telescope. The first deep field image released to the public, the highest resolution infrared view of the universe to date, shows a cluster of distant galaxies so dense that they act as a gravitational lens to magnify even more distant galaxies. Given the time it takes the light to travel, the photo also shows some of the oldest objects ever observed. The Webb telescope, which has been in development since 1996, differs from the Hubble, which it is meant to replace. It's designed to see farther into the infrared spectrum and can capture objects far dimmer than Hubble can see. While the telescope is not tied directly to amateur radio, it does use radio to transmit the data back to Earth, and we here at Newsline simply can't resist an exciting space story. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Paul Brown, WD9 GCO.
There's more big news involving space, this time from Indonesia.
After 6 years in development, Indonesia's Suraya Satellite 1, the nation's first satellite, has begun the first leg of its journey into space. Shipment to the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA, in October of this year, the amateur radio CubeSat, which has an APRS digipeater on board, will be launched from Japan for its journey to the International Space Station. The ISS will release the satellite into orbit in November. It was developed by students at Suraya University and had support of the Satellite Technology Research Centre at the country's National Research and Innovation Agency. Experts at the Aeronautics and Space Research Organisation in Indonesia heralded the satellite as a pioneer of nanosatellites for Indonesia and expressed hope it would inspire other Indonesian universities to complete similar projects. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jason Daniels, VK2LAW.
Lastly, while not space-related, this announcement has one young radio amateur flying high.
Really? Oh my God.
That was the reaction of Audrey McElroy, KM4BUN, after learning she had been selected as the recipient of Newsline's Young Ham of the Year Award. Audrey of Cumming, Georgia, is the daughter of Thomas McElroy, W4SDR, and Janet McElroy, K4PRM. Her brother Jack is KM4ZIA. Audrey is 18 and an honor student who graduated in June from Forsyth Central High School in Cumming, Georgia. She already has begun computer science studies at Georgia Tech. She credits her parents with generating her early interest in amateur radio.
By the age of like 3 or 4, I was out there helping my dad put antennas up, run coax in the hot summer heat. Then I became so fascinated looking into the radios.
Audrey says promoting amateur radio is a big part of her immediate future.
Now I kind of make it my mission to bring more youth, and especially women, in amateur radio and STEM.
For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Mark Abramovich, NT3V.
Congratulations, Audrey. Mark's full, nearly 3-minute report can be heard in this week's Amateur Radio Newsline report. Audrey will receive her award on Saturday, August 20th during ceremonies at the Huntsville Hamfest in Huntsville, Alabama, and we hope to see you there as well. And one final historical note, it was 53 years ago, on July 20th, 1969, at 2017 UTC, that Apollo 11 landed on the moon. 6.5 hours later, at 0256 UTC, July 21st, Neil Armstrong became the first man to set foot on the surface of the moon. 19 minutes later, Buzz Aldrin joined him. I was 8 years old and remember watching it happen live on television. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Paul Brown, WD9GCO, Jason Daniels, VK2LAW, Mark Abramovich, NT3V, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
We have multiple big flare players on the Earth-facing disk, and back-to-back solar storm launches are going to give Earth a 1-2 punch. Those stories and more in the news this week. Our sun really turns up the volume this week. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, you can see no less than 8 active regions in Earth view. Two of these, which are big flare players, are now rotating off of the sun's west limb, but we still have regions 30, 56, 57, 58, and 59 that are all big flare players. They have been giving us some big radio blackouts, and we've been dealing with that over the last couple days, and we do still have a risk for X-class flares, but thus far, only M-class. It's not been too bad. But meanwhile, this is not the biggest story. If we take a look back on the 15th, you can see this big snake-like filament that's rotating in through the Earth strike zone, and wham, right there, it launches off. You can see it almost flipping upside down. It's almost kind of cartwheeling off the sun. That actually launches an Earth-directed solar storm. When we take a look at the coronagraphs, you can see this big partial halo. That shows us that this storm is Earth-directed, and we'll talk more about the models in a minute. Meanwhile, back on the sun, that isn't the only thing. You can see a little bit more of it begin to lift off back on the 16th, but then as we look about midway through the 16th along the west limb of the sun, we've got two eruptions nearly simultaneously, and that once again launches yet another Earth-directed solar storm. In coronagraphs, once again, another second partial halo. This solar storm is also Earth-directed, so both of these storms are now on their way to Earth, and it looks like we're going to get a 1-2 punch. Switching to our M-flare threat meter, as we take a look at the activity over this past week, we can see that the X-ray flux is sitting in and around the seafloor, and that means by proxy the solar flux is also pretty high. We're sitting well into triple digits. We're actually beginning to inch up to nearly 200 as we get closer and closer to a solar maximum in this cycle. And this means that we've got great radio propagation on Earth's day side, but as you can see by all of the flare activity, it's going to be noisy on those radio bands. In fact, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 M-class flares over this past week. The biggest one being on the 14th. This was almost an M3 flare from region 3058. And yes, it gave us a decent radio blackout on Earth's day side. These conditions will easily continue over this next week. So you amateur radio operators, emergency responders, and GPS users know that radio propagation and radio signals will be disrupted on Earth's day side sporadically, easily over this next week, and this is likely going to continue as we see even more active regions rotating into Earth view over the next few days. So what else does our sun have in store for us this week? Well, this is Stereo A. It's our partially far-sighted monitor. You can see here's Earth, here's the sun, and here's Stereo A staring at the sun just a little bit from the side. And as we take a look at Stereo's view, up in the north on the west part of the sun, you can see that snake-like filament. And in fact, on the 15th, you can even see it erupt around midday. That ended up being Solar Storm 1 that's on its way to Earth now. And then as we move into the 16th, you can see down in the south, there's another filament launch. And that ended up being part of Solar Storm 2 that's also on its way to Earth. So Stereo got a gorgeous view of both of those eruptions. And now as we look past that to the center part of the disk, do you see this big long finger-like black region, or dark region rather? This region is a coronal hole, and it's going to be sending us some fast solar wind. It is visible on Earth, in Earth view, but it's not rotated into the Earth strike zone. That's going to take about another week for that to happen. And when it sends us some fast solar wind, that means we can get another chance for aurora. So aurora photographers, if this 1-2 punch of these solar storms fizzles out, don't lose hope, because we're going to get another chance for more aurora show in about a week thanks to this coronal hole. Now as we move and we look to the east part of the sun, well, believe it or not, there's even more active regions that have yet to rotate into Earth view. So amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, we've got some potential more big flare players rotating into view, so expect those radio bands to stay noisy but also stay in the good range for radio propagation on Earth's day side in this coming week. So the space weather this week has gotten very exciting. We have back-to-back solar storms that are on their way to Earth, and they could give us kind of a 1-2 punch and give us some gorgeous aurora that could last for multiple days, as long as that orientation of the magnetic field in those storms is the right way. It could be a beautiful show for aurora photographers, so be sure to keep your batteries charged. But don't worry, folks, these storms really are not that large. They're more like rainstorms than hurricanes, so you don't have to worry. We're not going to have a problem problem mitigating through them. Don't believe all the hype that you see on YouTube. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, you know, things for you are kind of good and bad. It's a mixed bag. We enjoy having a lot of the bright regions on the Earth-facing disk because that boosts that solar flux and keeps it in the triple digits, which means amateur radio operators, you have wonderful radio propagation on Earth's day side. However, it also brings those radio blackouts that we don't like so much, and it brings a lot of the noise on the radio band, so you're just going to have to deal with that for a bit. Plus, once we have that solar storm or set of solar storms hitting Earth, well, that's going to cause some issues for you on Earth's night side. So you're going to just have to kind of deal with it both on Earth's day side and night side. You're going to have to switch to lower frequencies on Earth's night side once the solar storm hits, and switch to higher frequencies on Earth's day side when you get those radio blackouts, because the higher frequencies actually recover faster. And now you GPS users, well, you're going to have to kind of grin and bear it through this week. We've got those the flux in the triple digits, which you don't necessarily like when the solar flux is that high. It kind of affects your GPS reception down at low latitudes. Plus, we also have those causes issues near dawn and dusk, and oh my goodness, as soon as those solar storms hit, well, Earth's night side anywhere near Aurora is not going to be all that great for you either. So you're just going to have to wait until things kind of calm down, and until then, be sure to stay vigilant with the GPS reception, because it could be a bit dicey even at low latitudes. And if you happen to be a drone flyer, be sure to calibrate your magnetometers often. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
All right, Dr. T, always awesome report from her this week. And, of course, we thank her and the Newsline as well for the Newsline report. Be sure to follow her at Tamitha Skov on Twitter. Check out her spaceweatherwoman.com and also her YouTube channel, Tamitha Skov. Let's go ahead and introduce you to, this is my favorite time of the year, the 2022 Bill Pasternak WA6ITF Amateur Radio Newsline Young Ham of the Year is Audrey McElroy, KM4BUN. Audrey, how are you tonight?
Great. How are you?
I am awesome. We also have up there, we have Mark Brown, N4BCD. Mark is the general chairman of the Huntsville Hamfest, and that, of course, since, Mark, 1993, I believe, has been the home of the Young Ham of the Year Award, and we couldn't be happier to be back here again live this year. So thanks for joining us, Mark. We appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks, Dawn, and hi, Amanda. Welcome, and we're looking forward to seeing you again.
We sure are. Now, I want to get into a little bit of your history, Audrey. Mark Abramovich. Too many Marks tonight. Told us a little bit of your history with getting your license early and playing with radios with your dad. You're heavily into STEM. You brought the amateur radio hobby into your elementary school classroom for presentations there in Atlanta. Net control for the Sawney Amateur Radio Association, Field Day. Dave Coulter Memorial Youth DX in 2019 in Curacao. High altitude balloon launches. What don't you do in amateur radio?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'm really involved. I recently, the past couple of years, have been able to, like you said, go into elementary schools in my school district up in Forsyth County and been able to get little kids involved and really interested in amateur radio. You'd be surprised how much their eyes light up when you give them the opportunity to talk into the radio, So it's been so much fun. And high altitude balloons, it's been great. My brother and I have been working on those for a while now. So
that's great.
It's been a lot.
That's great. Yeah, Gordon West can tell you how the eyes light up when you hand a kid a Morse code key on an oscillator and teach them how to send their name. Yeah, it's just anything to get that hook set. Because everybody knows that youth is the lifeblood of this hobby, and it will of course have it continue. So, what are you studying at Georgia Tech?
Yeah, so as you can tell, I don't know if you can tell, I'm in a dorm right now. So here at Georgia Tech, I'm studying computer engineering. I'm very excited about that. I like to think of it as a happy marriage between electrical engineering and a little bit of computer science.
Right.
So it's very exciting. Yeah.
And you're no stranger to Big Hamfest. You have made presentations both at Huntsville and at Dayton, and also at the Youth on the Air Camp. Tell us how old were you when the first time you did a presentation at Dayton? That had to have been kind of exciting.
Well, Dayton, my brother presented for me. I was graduating high school that day.
Okay.
So,
very good.
but yeah, we started doing presentations. It started at our local clubs, Sawney Amateur Radio Association, as well as North Fulton Amateur Radio League. We started doing small presentations about what we were up to. And eventually I went to Huntsville a few years ago, and I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Carol Perry. And she saw what we were doing, and she's like, other people need to, hear about this. And so I like to credit to her. She was able to get me in, and I got to talk about, balloons and youth and all sorts of fun stuff, and the QSO Live, QSO Today, Ham Expos, Huntsville, and
Yeah, Carol is amazing. She is absolutely one of the patron saints of youth and amateur radio. I mean, she has done so much to further the state of the art of this hobby with the youth that it's just absolutely amazing. So after college, what are your plans for a career? I mean, it's going to be computer science, but have you nailed it down to something that you really, really want to do that you're shooting for? I know it's early in the process, but.
Yeah, no, that's a good question. Computer engineering kind of opens up anything within EE and a little bit of computer science. So there's always interests in going into something like cybersecurity, stuff like that. I can't say for sure exactly where I want to go into.
Yeah.
There's a lot of options, working in defense, working at startups, all fun stuff like that. But I think it would be, if I could loosely describe my ideal job, it'd be something where I have the pleasure of incorporating, some EE principles with computer science and somehow bringing in RF into all that. So something like that I will hopefully figure out. I have a few years to figure it out. So
yeah, very cool. And of course, we will see you in exactly a month.
Yes.
At the Huntsville Ham Fest. Mark, I want to ask you a little bit about some of the plans that you guys have got going on for Huntsville this year. What's going on with that?
Well, Don, we're doing a lot of the same. In 2019, the last time you were there, we were at 80,000 square feet in the Von Braun Center South Hall. In 2020, of course, we did not have the show due to COVID. But then in 2021, last year, we expanded into the entire South Hall. So we went from 80,000 square feet to 140,000 square feet, not quite double.
Wow.
So we've got more space between the aisles, more space between the vendor aisles and the flea market, expanded youth lounge, big hospitality area for the vendors and the volunteer workers. So it's just bigger. As they say in tech, everything is bigger in Texas. Well, it's bigger in Huntsville, Alabama this year too. And we plan to fill that space up. We've already sold out all the 400 flea market tables. And next week, we're going to have a board meeting. We'll talk about maybe adding some more. Great forums this year, as in years past. We've got a POTA event. The YouTubers, a bunch will be there. Lots of stuff going on. Great forums. We'll be actually at T-minus 30 days, which is tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
We're going to publish the forum list and the schedule. So look for that on our website tomorrow morning.
Good. Well, I can't wait. Now, of course, you got to pencil us in for the main stage at 2:00 on Saturday, because that's kind of been our traditional time to do the Young Ham of the Year award, and we'd like to.
Okay, I'm making a note of that, Don.
Yeah, pencil us in, Mark, if you don't mind. Audrey, it'll be me and Audrey, and perhaps some other folks as well.
Probably some other folks, but we got a great show planned, and the Youth Lounge, of course, we'll have remote ham radio.
Yeah.
Neil is bringing the Youth on the Air exhibit we're going to look to put that near the Youth Lounge. Again, remote ham radio. So lots of stuff going on. Flex is sponsoring the Youth Lounge this year. Dr. Monty Bateman he's been doing it with his wife and helpers for, I think, 13 years now.
Yeah.
It just keeps getting bigger and better.
Yeah, and he does a great job with that. Now, Audrey, I think you'll probably be spending some time over in the Youth Lounge, I would imagine, won't you?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to go to Yoda camp this past summer because I had started studies here at Georgia Tech in summer.
Right.
But I'm really excited to catch up with some of them again. My brother had the best. My brother had the best time, and I'm so excited to be able to see them all again.
Great. Now we have some images. I'm just going to go ahead and let Josh run these. And Audrey, if you tell us kind of what we're seeing here, kind of what are we?
Yeah, so this is at the whiteboard in my basement. This is a write-up, I think my dad, this was many years ago. I think this is the statement where he talks about if you know ham radio, you can become an engineer. If you become an engineer, you can make money. And especially for women, you don't have to depend on somebody else to bring in money. You can be an independent woman. And so that's why I like to help, bring especially little kids and other girls I find into STEM through amateur radio. So, yeah, that's the mantra.
Great. Let's just keep rolling through. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was, oh my goodness, that was about 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah, you've changed a little bit. Yeah.
I've changed a little bit. I'm a little older.
Yeah.
That was a bit I did on Smoke and Solder about transistors, I believe. That was a little while ago. Yeah.
She did. That was when she was invited to the YL Ham Nation, and she brought that to the Smoke. She did the Smoke and Solder segment, and she did it. She rocked it, actually.
I remember that. I remember that. Well, Amanda, let's go and see if anyone has any questions for Audrey or for Mark before we move on.
Okay, let's go through it. Actually, there's a lot of comments for you, Audrey. First of all, my first comment is a congratulations, and I knew after I met you, how long ago did we meet? Back in 2016, that you one of these days were going to be a Young Ham of the Year. So congratulations, sister. And a lot of other people, I said, this girl is going to run the world. A lot of other people said, yes, amen. And a lot of people are talking about your career options looking for you. And basically, you're going to do whatever you want to. And I think there's a lot of people thrilled to see you here as a Young Ham of the Year award winner. And if you are not excelling above, you are matching some of the most brilliant minds in amateur radio as a youth. And we're going to meet some others as well. But Audrey, really, congratulations. And I think that's what the chat room wanted to say as well.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, I have to say, and I say this every year numerous times, that all of the press goes to the bad news and the quote unquote bad kids or whatever terminology you want to use. And it's just like anything else. The bad is the minority. The good kids, the good people, the good things in this world are the vast majority, but they don't get the press because it doesn't sell papers and it doesn't sell ads on the TV news. So people like Audrey are going to be running the world when we're gone. And let me tell you something, just from knowing these young hams that I've been around since Bill Pasternak brought me into this, back in 95, the world's going to be just fine. So we don't have to worry about that because people like Audrey and some of the other kids that you're going to meet tonight, youth that you're going to meet tonight, they're going to be the ones running the world and everything is going to be just fine. I have absolute confidence in that. Well, Mark, anything else you want to add about the Hamfest? Because we're looking at, like you said, a month, and we'll all meet down there and we'll celebrate amateur radio.
Well, Don, I could probably talk for another 30 minutes, but I'm sure it's a busy program tonight.
Yeah,
we got Dr. Ward Silver, N0AX, hosting a DX banquet, and he's also going to be doing a forum.
Great.
We got an adult soldering class on Sunday morning. Build a through-hole kit. Some blinky light things, so that'll be a lot of fun. DX card checking, all the stuff you see at a big Hamfest, because we are a big Hamfest.
You are.
The Orlando guys, Dayton guys, they'll be here. So come to Huntsville. The website's very easy, hamfest.org. See you August 20th. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Don.
Absolutely. Huntsville is a major Hamfest, and we will have you back on before the Hamfest kicks off. So don't worry about that. We'll have you back on to talk more about it. Audrey, again, congratulations. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in about a month. And everybody else that's there, hopefully we'll have Faith Hannah Lee, who was last year's Young Ham here. It allows to have didn't get a chance to
What's that mean?
Live. So anyway, let's go ahead and toss things over to Amanda. Again, looking forward to Huntsville, and congratulations again, Audrey. Amanda, pick it up.
Well, thank you. And Josh, is that audio issue good? Okay. No. You're fine. So, Audrey, before you step away, I have a group of people here, your peers, that would also love to tell you congratulations. So let me introduce them real quick. Like I have Adam Johnson, Veronica Romanek, and Blake. I don't have your last name in front of me, honey, but they probably went to youth camp with your brother, and I'm sure they are more than proud. So you guys just go ahead and shout it out.
Congratulations, Audrey.
Congrats, Audrey.
Thank you. I want to thank you guys for all the work you put in the Yoda camp. My brother had a great time.
No, it's been a blast with your brother, and hopefully you'll get to make it some year as well. It's really been a blast the last couple of years.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. It looks amazing.
Yes, it has.
Oh, thanks, you guys. I really appreciate that. And I went through the introductions here pretty quick, but these are some of our folks that went to Youth on the Air camp in Cincinnati this year in 2022. And Adam actually was an assistant director. So, Adam, what work did you go through to put this together?
Well, the work I did and the work that everybody else did, I think, is a major difference. Obviously, there's a lot of Zoom meetings and everything else, but I mean, just coming in as assistant director this year, they asked me back in, I believe it was January, and I said yes. And so last year, a little backstory, I came in as a camper last year, had a blast, and said I'd be willing to help any way I can because it's going to be an amazing program. I really thought it was, and they asked me if I wanted to be the assistant director. So here I am. I helped with the planning, and as we were down there, different things, and just being a staff and just getting things together, assistant director. And no, it's really awesome, just the different stuff that we've done. But I mean, just Neil and the whole group and the VOA and just everybody, and especially our sponsors. I mean, DX Engineering, ICOM, ARDC, and everybody. I mean, we couldn't have done it without them. So for me, I have helped some, but it's just everybody around me has just been a huge help, and even the campers being a big help, and we couldn't have done it without them. So it's it's really big teamwork is what it is, but it's definitely paid off in the end, that's for sure.
All right. Well, let's talk about some of those other key folks, and some are watching this evening. Jocelyn, KD8 VRX, and Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG, and Sterling N0 SSC. They've been key, really, to keeping you all focused and working together. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, they've definitely been a big key in this. Jocelyn, he's done a lot as far as kind of being in between of he's a member at the VOA there and kind of being an in-between guy. And he's on the picture there, he's actually pointing at something with his thumb, which there's kind of a joke around. And if you look at quite a few pictures of him, he's usually pointing at something. So that's a big kind of inside joke of Jocelyn is usually pointing at something. But yep, right there he's trying to point, but no, there's a lot of other pictures. And but Neil especially, I mean, the amount of stuff Neil has done to get this whole camp going is just crazy. I mean, the amount of work he's put into it, time and effort, and between him and his wife, it's just been a lot of work. I mean, it's greatly appreciated.
There you go. Neil is in the chat room. I'm sure he's blushing right now and so proud of all of his flock. So Veronica, how did you get introduced to this camp, and what made you go?
So my professor, actually Dr. Fursell, he was invited as one of the keynote speakers, and I found out about it through him. He encouraged me to apply, and I'm very glad I did. It was a very rewarding experience. I met all these awesome campers, and I learned a lot about ham radio too. So.
Well, that's a plus. Fantastic. Blake, what about you? What got you interested into this camp?
Well, it was partly my dad, and then partly when we ended up speaking with Neil Rapp the first time on the radio.
Wow. Okay, so Neil has been a big portion of all of your lives and getting you involved in this. That's fantastic. And so Josh is just going to be rolling some pictures here, and you don't have to comment. We're just going to talk here. But so Veronica, let's go to you first. What did you get the most out of this camp?
I really appreciated the connections I made with the other youth. Prior to this, I hadn't really met a lot of youth ham radio operators, and I was really amazed to see how many there are, and they really know a lot, and I learned a lot from my peers, which is something I think I really got out of this camp.
Yeah, and what about you, Blake?
Well, like Veronica said, all the friends that we were able to meet and the relationships that we'll have forever now, and all the cool things that we were able to learn.
Absolutely.
That we didn't know about.
And you guys are the future, so you're going to know each other for a really, really long time. And let's see, what else do we have? Veronica, what would you say you learned the most out of? Was there some kind of lesson, some kind of building project, something that you got the most out of?
I got the most out of a lot of things. I definitely thought it was really cool. We did some satellite QSOs, and that was my first time even seeing something like that. And so I thought it was so cool how you're able to bounce radio waves off of these tiny little things floating through outer space. So I definitely learned a lot that day. But again, everything we did was very informational.
Wow. And Blake, what about you?
I learned a lot about launching the balloons up into the air from Audrey and Jack, even though Audrey wasn't there. All the key components and everything that's needed, and how specific and precise everything has to be in order for it to be successful.
Okay. And Adam, let's go to you. What was the funnest part of teaching all the youth?
So for me, I wasn't exactly a teacher of per se a presentation, exact as kind of other things, but it was just super exciting. Is just the people you meet. I mean, for me, it's just amazing because you're there, and sure, I knew Neil and I knew a few of the youth from last year, but there's still a lot of people you don't know, and there's always a little bit of feeling of, am I gonna fit in? How is this gonna work out? And by the end of the week, you all are pretty much family without even trying. It's just the amount of friendships you make, and even now how many of us still contact each other, and the Telegram group chats that we have, and it's just a lot of fun. And even to meet back up with Blake and Veronica tonight just to talk a little bit, it's a blast. So it's a lot of fun, just the people you meet and the different connections you make. But no, it just was awesome. Everybody was just really awesome this year, and just even for me learning different things. Sure, some of these I learned a little bit last year, but I mean, you can read a book 100 times and you'll still learn something new out of it. So no, with this, so no books involved, but just going seeing some of these different presentations, and balloon launch just amazed me, and the satellites, and so there's a whole lot of stuff that I enjoyed learning, but also kind of getting to know some of the youth, and bringing up that youth, kind of connecting with the youth and different events as we try to bring more youth into amateur radio.
Fantastic. And you guys also had some downtime, some real fun time. Veronica, what all did you guys get to do outside of camp?
One of the days we got to go to an amusement park. I think it's called Kings Island, which is really cool. They had at the closing time at the end of the day, they did a drone show and a fireworks show, and it was really, really cool to see that.
Oh, fantastic. Blake, what else did you guys get to do?
Another night we also all hopped on the bus and we went to Main Event, where we bowled for a while and played some laser tag.
Okay, and I'm seeing some of these photos now where you guys got really hot and heavy into doing some soldering projects. Veronica, what did you guys make there? What were you building?
We had 2 different kits. This one that you see in this picture, we were working on building a directional antenna for Foxhots, and we were assembling the attenuator in the picture you see here. And so that was one of the kits. And then we did some more soldering. We made some end-fed dipole antennas too.
All right. Blake, did you enjoy doing the soldering kits?
Oh, yes. It was very fun for me. I haven't had much experience with them. I've only done it a few times, but it was very nice to do it again.
Yeah. And it looks like you guys did some fox hunting. Is that correct?
We did. We ended up making our attenuators as well as making the fox hunt antennas, and it was a blast.
Okay. So Veronica, tell me, were you on teams?
Yeah, so we were in anywhere from you could participate as an individual. A few people were on teams of 2 or 3, and then we got to go around the VOA grounds and look for the beacons.
All right.
And as we were doing that, the staff was standing there with signs cheering us on.
So was there like a team winner?
Yeah, so the I forget who the winner was, but whoever found all the beacons in the fastest time was the winner.
Nice. Well, did you guys have any other challenges? I mean, what else? But just you tell us what we need to know so that we know that we need to get more kids to go to this. Veronica, you first. Sorry.
You know, it's crazy how much we really learned. It's amazing to think we were only there for a week. So I think the most encouraging thing I would say to all the other youth out there is that you don't know how much you're going to learn until you go there. And so it's a great chance to meet other youth. It's a great chance to make contacts. We had a lot of generous sponsors that donated equipment to the camp that we were very fortunate to use. We got to use some, you see on the table there, some handheld ICOM radios, and that was my first time using a handheld radio, so I appreciated that experience. But again, like it was a very eventful week, and we had a lot of things to learn while we were.
Absolutely. It looks like you also got some weather there. Oh, and you guys set up.
Yeah, we had that on the roof there of the hotel, and unfortunately, I believe it was Sunday or Monday night. I think it might have been Monday. Yeah, Monday night, which was the second night that we were there. We had a huge rainstorm that came through Ohio there, and I know in the area there was reported of up to 75 or 70 mile an hour wind gusts, and so that ended up going down. And that was a hotel shack, so that was down kind of for the rest of the week. But we still had a lot of fun and made a lot of contacts. And one thing that I wanted to add, or a couple of things, is that kind of going back here on kind of learning stuff, is that for future youth, that this camp, like we have different things, sessions that we learn things, but at the same time, it's not all about lecture and stuff like that. It's not lecturing at all. It's still fun classes, interactive, and obviously no tests at the end or anything like that. It's all about being interactive and having fun and while learning new things. So yeah, sad day for the antennas here, and kind of going back to.
You lost multiple antennas. You lost a DX Commander and the Hex Beam, it looks like.
Oh man.
Wow.
It was a very sad day there. We had that was on the second night, and we had both antennas for the shack there, and that was the end of that for the shack. But we were able to do some remote stuff and still do some contacting, obviously, even though we were still at the hotel remotely to the VOA. And then while we were at the VOA, I still made contacts. But no, a lot of fun there. And then kind of going and looking at some pictures there, is that on our Kings Island day, so as many of you might know, Chris there that was in the feature in the picture, he's in college and he's the director's assistant, which is different from the assistant director, but he is going to be a commercial airline pilot, so he has a private pilot's license. So we went to Kings Island and stuff, and at Kings Island we'd have VHF sprints where we're trying to make as many contacts we can in 5 minutes. So him and I, we ended up leaving a little bit early, driving separate, and him and I went and rented an airplane for an hour, a single prop airplane, and we actually went up in the airplane with an ICOM handheld and did an ID51 A+2, and we which is my personal radio, and we did we went aeronautical mobile. So for our VHF sprint, we did that, and then we went on the national calling frequency and went aeronautical mobile and made quite a few contacts, and that was a lot of fun there too as well. But no, it was just a whole bunch of different stuff and talking to people on the ground, and yeah, going through the photos here. I mean, you have the shack at the VOA and stuff, and just an amazing location for having this camp as well. It was just really, really fun past 2 years for sure.
It actually sounds like it, and it sounds like you and Chris had a blast, and everyone knows Chris on here, another Young Ham of the Year award winner, and it seems like this is kind of a trend now. If you want to be a winner, you should probably go to Yoda Camp as well. But
I have to mention, this is the first picture through this entire thing where I see Sterling.
Is it?
I've been looking for Sterling through this whole thing, and there he is with his tongue out. Good job, Sterling. Good work.
At least he's being goofy.
One, the good thing I pictured beforehand, because that was actually the three of us in the car ride being goofy on our way to the hotel to find out what the antenna damage was. So the car ride back, I don't think you would have found a picture of us that smiley after that result. But on the way to the hotel, yeah, we were joking around, I guess.
So a serious question, because I don't know, because I've never had to do this, but Veronica, is this going to help with your college application and things like that?
I definitely think so. I mean, that's not why I do it. I do it because I like it. But there is a very big network of ham radio operators.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I was just fortunate enough to receive a scholarship from the ARDC, and that's absolutely helping me with my education.
Wow.
So there's definitely some windows. I know Audrey's on here too. She was also a scholarship winner. So and some other campers as well. So it absolutely opens doors to through education.
That's fantastic. So if nothing else, maybe not your college application, but at least for opening it up for scholarships. So that's good to know. And I think that our youth needs to know that, so that maybe they would consider if they weren't considering it. Blake, what about you? What are your college aspects?
Well, Yoda Camp was very fun. There was a lot learned to it, and it's definitely something that I'd probably put on my resume. For college, I plan on doing aeronautical engineering or going and being an airline pilot.
Nice. Some great aspects there, you guys. Well, Josh, did you pick up any questions? Because I've been just looking at the camera asking. Me too.
I've been flipping through the pictures and enjoying this, so yeah. Boy. Well, we're looking at the chat if anybody has any specific questions, so feel free to add them in there. I guess the thing we need to mention, and let me pull that up, is people may be wondering, how do they get involved in this or find out information on it? And it is youthontheair.org is the website. And you can see here some of the images and all the information on how you can get involved and actually attend if you are a youth yourself. How many years have you guys been doing it now? Specifically the West here?
So I do know that because a lot of it was Sam and Sterling that really kicked off this whole thing, and because they went over to Region 1, I believe.
Right.
I think it was back in 2015 that they went over to Region 1 to kind of learn this. But this was the official second camp that we had in the U.S. here, or in Region 2, I should say. And every year our goal is to actually change the location of where we're having this. So I do want to say that we have had a few applicants, and we're still working on details. But if for location for next year, if you have somebody that's potentially interested, or a club or something of potential future location for Youth on the Air, I'm the one that's in charge of that for email. So it's adam@youthontheair.org. So if you have an organization or somebody that is really potentially interested or just wants some more information on what we have for the application, go ahead and just send me an email, and I'd be more than happy to contact you and we can talk more about it. But no, that's one of the cool things about this is the VOA has just been an amazing, amazing location the last 2 years, but we're really hoping to go all over Region 2 every year. So we're not just saying it has to be in the U.S. only, and we're pretty excited for that to see where it takes us.
Absolutely. So it could be in Canada or wherever, which would be nice. Maybe up in cooler areas, not so humid.
Yeah, no, it was definitely a humid one this year. You could say we didn't have to worry about being too cold unless maybe you had your AC set too cold in your hotel. But besides that, no, it was definitely a warm one this year. And Kings Island, I think we had, I want to say, like 105 or 106 heat index that day. But it was hot, but we all still had a blast. Really, we had some rain a little bit here and there, especially on the big rainstorm that took down the antennas at the hotel. But we kind of got pretty lucky as far as being sunny goes. And yeah, maybe a little bit cooler, maybe maybe not, but no, it's just fun to go to check out potential different locations, and hopefully we'll just see where what country or what state or where this brings us in the future.
Fantastic. And just looking at your high altitude balloon, looks nice. Nice departure. Good payloads on there. So
for 2
looks
years,
like you had a. What's that?
Well, I'm saying for 2 years, you guys are doing a great job. I think it's
Yes.
absolutely fantastic the work you're all putting in. I mean, obviously the youth for attending, but again, big shout out to all the volunteers. I know you guys have already mentioned a lot of the people, but absolutely just great work, guys.
Volunteers,
awesome.
Yeah,
Even
really
the food looked good.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing is that we with the food they try to bring a lot of different local foods in the area. So like we have Skyline Chili, which is known in Ohio, and different stuff. So that's one of our kind of things we look into as we go to different locations, hopefully, is seeing what are some foods. Sure, you can have some regular food, this and that, but what are some foods that are really known to this area that not everybody else might be used to seeing. So that's another kind of cool thing. And as we all get to talking, youth and just hanging out, it's fun to see like what people have in different regions of different food. Like for me, I come from a cheese curd town, and there's people that never knew what cheese curds were until I showed up with a whole suitcase full of them that TSA had to check, but they approved. And no, so it's fun as far as that goes. But going back, obviously, like I said, the volunteers that have helped out and the youth that have helped in this, but especially the sponsors have just been huge. As far as the big ones, ICOM, ARDC, DX Engineering, but even the smaller ones, and even just anonymous or just individual people we're just so thankful, from small to big donations. We couldn't do it without you guys, and it really means a lot, and just really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
It's fabulous, and I'm so glad that most of the amateur radio community supports. I don't even know what you guys are doing there.
Temporarily offline. I just found his pictures. I was looking for him too, and there he is. So there's another YouTuber. His daughter attended, right? Leah, or it's not Astro Leah, right?
Well, Becca was there this year. Leah and Becca were both there last year, and then Leah wasn't able to make it this year, so it was Becca this year. But yeah, no, I think he was maybe practicing for someday putting up antennas or something. Who knows? But yeah, and then as you see some of the pictures there, oh yeah, wonderful Sterling. But
Sterling, you look thrilled.
Some of those pictures we were playing Uno and stuff every night was a big deal. As we'd go down to the hotel and we'd play board games, Yahtzee, Uno, whatever, and then have cheese curds that we'd be eating or snacks until I think it was midnight. Midnight was when we're supposed to be up in our hotel room. So there was some 11:59 runs to run for the elevator, but no, it was a lot of fun there, and oh gosh, so many great memories just going through these pictures. It just
many pictures.
Looking
you
at
guys
them.
got amazing pictures.
You do have a
from all
ton
this,
of
man.
pictures.
This is
It's
just
good
awesome.
though.
Yeah.
Document everything, because it's going to be the best years of your life, trust me. Well, gang, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it. And
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is just awesome, and just looking over these again and talking to the other youth here is just really awesome. Thank you so much for having us. We really, really appreciate it.
yeah, and Audrey, are you still with us? You want to jump in?
I am.
Yeah. What was Jack's most famous, memorable moment from camp?
Oh my goodness. I think he had so many. I saw him in the pictures. He was hanging out with everybody. Maybe Kings Island. I don't know, because he kind of went off on his own. And I know he was a big part with the high altitude balloon launch and everything. So I know he had a great time.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, once again, these are Josh and I'm going to go stand in a corner and eat crayons while these guys handle business. So
I think so. Yeah, maybe we should let them wrap up the show.
Yeah, right?
Soon enough, probably. That's for
It's
sure.
going to happen. It's going to happen. All right. Well, thanks everyone for joining us. And of course, you have our numbers. Always call us if you have anything interesting you'd love to bring to us, because you're always welcome here. With that, Josh, you ready to wrap this up?
I think so. Who do we have left? Boy, we lost. Oh, we got Gordo still, but Don, unfortunately, I think he had some Skype problems. Literally, so everybody understands, about the midpoint of Tamitha Scove's weather report, Skype decided to like flip the script on everybody. It literally changed the entire format. It sent my processor to 100%, just pegged it. So I'm out here trying to mine Bitcoin apparently through Skype. And I don't know how the show actually stayed on the wheels, but we lost a ton of people. They came back. Thanks everybody for sticking to it that was on Skype. I still will get off of Skype, I promise, once they allow another method to do what we do on the show. But it's unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. Should we mention the nets?
Yes, we should. And Kevin, poor Kevin, he's changed it like 5 times now, but he is on 7198. Look for Steve on 14268, D-Star on 14 Charlie, and DMR on 31012. So with that, be sure to tune in on August 3rd, which is our next show. And 7-3, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Gordo, any final words?
No, the kids are great. Our future.
They are our future.
Now, for everybody that's talking about, now I got everybody talking about Zoom. The problem is we use NDI feeds, and that's how I can do the video like the we do here. That doesn't work for StreamYard or Zoom, guys, so you can't do what I'm doing right now otherwise. All right, that is going to do it. Yeah, I guess we'll be in person in Huntsville. We got about a month, though, for that, so we'll be back here one more time, I think, before we're live in Huntsville. So thanks again, everybody, and 7-3, thanks for all the youth for you guys getting out there and getting radioactive. Have a great rest of your week. See ya.
7-3, everyone.
All right. And thank you again, everybody. I appreciate you hopping on the show. For those of you that are left, I think Mark's still there, too. Mark Brown, you still there?
Oh, we didn't see him.
Oh, he's muted, but thank you, Mark. I see you moving. I see your lips moving.
Hey,